everybody, what is up? It is Sunday night. It is time for All Things Fantasy Grounds Talk Show. Welcome, everybody. Um, Before we get to the show, let me remind everybody, as we always try to remember to do, that the All Things Fantasy Grounds Talk Show is meant to teach and help, but the opinions stated by those of us on the show tonight are not that of Smiteworks USA LLC or Fantasy Grounds. It's just us. And before we get to our special guest who is going to take us through the Conan the Barbarian Ruleset, let me speak to my co-hosts in no particular order. How are you, Furied Fate?
I'm good. I have some fuzzy juice, so everything is wonderful.
Now, am I to understand that means you're just sitting there getting drunk right now? Is that what fuzzy juice means?
No, as much as I should have grabbed the fermented juice, this is actually just fizzy juice that I like.
Okay, very good. And Robin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great too. How are you? How are you? Is everybody? How are you? All right, everybody. With us this evening, and I'm going to put his name up on the screen so you guys can see, is one of the developers. He's the best one. For the Conan the Barbarian Ruleset, and he is Wesley Toma Lee. We're gonna call him Wes. He goes by Static on the on Discord, and I'm assuming Twitch and wherever else he might be. Anyway, Wes, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad you're here. So before we get started, if you would, sir, just give people the lowdown on you, like, you know, how did you get into gaming? There's no certain way to tell the story. You can tell it however you want, but like, how did you start playing RPGs, and how did you come to Fantasy Grounds, and then how did you come to the Conan Ruleset in particular? And just let us know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So when I to get into gaming, I started very young. I had I think it was the red box for AD&D. And back then, me and my friends would roll up characters, and we didn't play it correctly. We did it terrible. We'd fight a monster, we'd kill it within one roll, and then we'd get 1 million gold, and that was our idea of playing games.
Yeah.
From there, kind of
like that.
Exactly. From there, it kind of fell away for some years. I got more into MMOs as opposed to tabletop games. And then probably about a year or two after 5e came out, I kind of got the bug again, got heavily into 5e, running games, running Adventures League. And during all that, I was looking for a good way to play more often and do more often. And I found Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. And I ultimately went with Fantasy Grounds because I liked the idea that it's installed on my hard drive. I can create my character on my computer, and I can go to the gaming store where they have no internet and still use the software to run my character off of. And so from there, I just there, I just stayed with Fantasy Grounds 100%. And then eventually, Star Trek Adventures came out, and I started getting into that about a year or so ago. And I was looking around for a rule set for it, a community rule set, and I found one. And the gentleman who was making it stopped developing it fairly quickly, and it was lacking a lot. And I felt, and I was looking at it, I was going to play with it, and I was like, I didn't like it, and I had learned how to code in Python in the past, so I said, well, screw it, I'll just make my own. And I started coding. I started making a Star Trek Adventures rule set. From there, I kind of put it out in the world, put it on Fantasy Grounds forums, on Facebook and everything. And then it kind of got the bug of Nerd Eye Industries, who are the developers for Conan, and they asked me to come on to work with them in Modiphius and do the Modiphius 2D20 sets, starting with Conan, and then we're going to move on to the others. And it kind of basically went from there. And I taught myself how to do Lua doing that, and XML, and just kind of did it.
Wow, fantastic. That's crazy. You just got committed and did it. So does that mean that now I know that there is a Star Trek Adventures, because I played with it. A few weeks ago we did it. Now, are they going to do like an official rule set that's sanctioned by Modiphius and all that, or is it going to just stay as it is? Oh, they are.
The one you're playing is the one that I decided to make. That's mine. Once I came on with Nerd Eye, I took that one offline because we're actually in the process now that Conan's done and we're just doing updates for it as needed. We are currently in the process of doing Star Trek Adventures right now, so that one should be releasing. We're thinking probably by the end of the month or so.
Oh wow,
Or at
very
least
nice.
I should say we'll be done with it, but then it got to go through approvals and CBS, Odysseus, Smiteworks, and all that stuff before it comes out.
And the worst approval process is Steam. They're the worst.
Yes.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I do have a question. So you mentioned that you played MMOs. Did you play the Conan MMO?
I did not. I actually was not. I like the Conan movies. I never read the books. I was never a big fan of it. I got into it because I'm a huge Trekkie, and they offered to they said, hey, why don't you come work with us? We have to do this. We're going to do the others, but hey, we're going to get to do Star Trek, officially. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. I like gaming. I like learning new rule sets. I've read 30, 40, 50 different rule sets in the last year just for shits and giggles. So why not? But no, I was never really into Conan before before this.
Yeah, me neither. As a matter of fact, I just bought this rule set tonight so that we could show it for the show. And by the way, everybody, this rule set that I just purchased for $44.99, I'm going to give to one of you watching the show tonight. So I all of a sudden I'm imitating Hank Azaria doing Brockmire, and he puts one in over the plate that counts 0-1. No, I don't know why I'm doing that. It's because I've been binging that show is why. But yeah, that's pretty exciting because I'm a big Robin got excited. I'm a big Trekker too. I call myself a Trekker, by the way. The difference is that I learned this is that Trekker is a fan of the show, might have gone to a convention or two in their life. Perhaps maybe they read the books or the comics or whatever. A Trekkie wears Spock ears to work, so that's the difference between the two.
I would totally wear Spock ears.
Well, yeah, because now cosplay's cool, right? But like when I was in my 20s and whatever, yeah, that was just a weird thing. Now it's like it's the same with D&D, right? Dungeons and Dragons used to be the devil worshippers game, and now it's like cool and it's $1 billion business. All right, let's get to it.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Before we get too deep into the Conan rule set showing off, I just want to ask Wes, what MMOs did you play? Because I was, for 10 years, was like a diehard MMO player. So I'm just curious.
Oh, Jesus. Let me see. Okay.
Just your top three.
Well, top three is even going to be difficult. But let me name some. I obviously started with Zork, The Realm, EverQuest, World of Warcraft, the Superhero One, City Heroes, Final Fantasy, The Matrix, Star Trek Online, Neverwinter, Dungeons and Dragons Online. I'm missing like 3 or 4 I can't think of right now. I mean, I've been playing them since I was 12, and I'm much older than that now.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really quick, looks like Boffrin's asking any word when Mutant Chronicles will be coming. Is that one of those projects as well?
That you'll have to just wait and see.
Okay.
And NDA.
Yep.
NDA. All right. So, walk us through Conan. What things here? I got the reference manual open. What types of things should we showcase in the rule set that people would be excited about?
So first of all, since you have the reference manual up, we can talk about that a little bit. This you should also have in the library the Vultures of Shem, which is the adventure that comes in the Conan rule set book. So with the rule set, the core manual, that's basically the entire core rule book. Everything's in there, so you put a read. And then we did Vultures of Shem separate, so you can run it as a DM and keep it private without having to show off. Obviously, you don't want the players to see that stuff.
Right.
So we did that as a separate module. Yep.
Cool.
Everything's in there. Just like all other 2D20s, it does have the breakdowns of character creation, which is one of the greatest things about the Modiphius 2D20 things. They literally walk you down step 1, do this, step 2, do that. Which is nice. So yeah, if you click on characters there, it should just have all the different steps. So if you were going to create a character, you would literally just click step 1 and do what it says, and then step 2 and do what it says. And we put
That's
all the
pretty
tables
cool,
in there
yeah.
to make everything very easy, very simple. This was actually put together by, I had nothing to do with the reference manual, I will say, because I don't do reference manuals. I've tried. I'm terrible at them. The other three, Steve, Brian, and John basically did this all themselves. They are 100% part of this, and I think they did an amazing job with it.
Yeah, the reference manuals end up being quite important.
Yeah.
There's most people who make modules privately or do stuff for the DMs Guild, for Fantasy Grounds or whatever. There's an extension that Celestian did called the Author Project that helps with that.
Yeah.
You can export stuff, but generally reference manuals have to be made by like opening up the Lua or the XML and going
XML,
in there.
yeah.
Oh, good night, I'm out. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I've read it and I've tried to follow it, and the way it's worded, it's like, I don't understand, so I don't even bother touching it. Let someone else deal with that. So yeah, that's above my pay grade.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what we have there. It looks great. We are actually Tuesday, we're putting out a new improvement. So when we put it out right now, it's just all as you see. I believe on Tuesday we're going to be putting out some more information, and if not this Tuesday, but very soon, we're going to actually put in like the images and styling, stuff like that into the rules. So it looks more like the book itself as opposed to just.
So there's no right now. There's no images in here, I guess.
Not really. No, there's the text and then there's tables, but we will be
Gotcha.
adding that in to make it look better and more appealing.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Rob, can you pull up the character sheet? Like, can you make a new, stick a new one in there? I just want to see what the character sheet. Oh, there it is.
Look at that.
Yep. So this is the character sheet. How basically all 2d20s work is you have two stats that you add numbers together to get a target number. So you can see with agility, if you would roll in acrobatics, which would be the agility acrobatics. So how it works is agility, awareness, brawn, so on and so forth. Those start off a minimum 7. They can go up to as high as 12. If you put a number into one of those, it'll automatically increment the stats underneath them for you.
That's fancy.
Nope, go on agility.
Agility, yeah.
Yeah, go that one,
Right
and I'll increment that one. Change that one to like 9 or 10 or something. There you go. So it auto increments the others for you, and then the others
So
you
cool.
have a focus and expertise, so those can go up from 1 to 5, from 0 to 5. And again, if you add those in, that'll then also increment from the expertise over to the target number. And how it works is you roll 2d20. So now you have a 12, say you're going to roll an acrobatics, you double click that, it's going to roll the 2d20, and it's going to tell you how you did. And it looks like you got no successes.
That's because I'm me, right? That's the normal, right? Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. So the goal is you want to roll under the number, and every dice that rolls under the number, you get a success. And if you have a focus and you roll under the focus, then it counts as 2 successes. And then to add on to the roll itself, if you go to the bottom corner under the chat box, you have that little red gem. That's where the GM would roll his dice. That's the doom, and the green one is momentum. Those help you with your rolls. The 6 white and red boxes there next to them, those are your difficulty. So you can set a difficulty, meaning right now it's set as a difficulty 1. So in order to succeed, you have to have at least 1 success. So if you have a difficulty 3, you have to have at least 3 successes, or it doesn't succeed. And you can click on those and choose whichever one you want. And then the yellow dots underneath is how many dice you can roll up to 5 to generate those successes. So basically, the DM would say, roll me in acrobatics, difficulty 2, and let's say for whatever reason you spend momentum to get an extra dice, so you would change it to 3. And so go ahead and just hit DC 2.
DC 2, yep.
Yep. And then hit the black dot next to the yellow. Perfect. And now go roll the acrobatics. And now it's going to roll 3 dice for you at a difficulty 2. And it's going to tell you how you did.
Nice.
And it looks like you did pretty good. You got 4
That's
successes.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really.
Okay,
and then it resets everything. Cool. That's
And it resets everything. Yeah.
So in this system, rolling low numbers is a good thing.
Yes. Actually, a 1 is the best. That's considered a critical success. And that counts as 2 successes. So this is a game system that Will Wheaton would be really good at.
Yeah, because Joe
Aw.
numbers. Yeah, it's always rolling low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
poor
those
Will,
ones.
poor
Yeah.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton, yeah.
Shut
He-
up, Wesley.
Not
Not you,
he's getting
Wesley.
it. He doesn't even know us, and we're already busting his balls. That's funny.
Okay. As a Trekkie, as a Trekker, I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. You know what's funny is he himself is a big Star Trek fan, which I really like. A
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of those actors could give a shit.
Oh
But,
yeah.
you know, Will Wheaton's
Well,
a big Star Trek fan.
I think the original
You know
series
Patrick
kind of
Stewart loves it.
yeah. I think the next generation people really do appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. But they yeah, most of them do. Patrick Stewart is a
Yeah.
huge fan. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still haven't finished Picard. Oh, okay. Getting off
I
topic.
haven't even started it. I need
You guys
to.
need to tighten it up. That's a good show.
I know.
You gotta watch it.
Okay.
I have 2 episodes and I want to watch them, but I just finding the time these days. But
Yeah,
anyways,
it's worth
Conan.
it. I finished it and it's like amazing.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say.
It's great. So anyway, so talents are things you can use that kind of help you with your roles. If you go to the library and you open up and click on the all to open up all the sidebar icons.
Oh wait,
the
what? Where's
library?
Oh,
Yep.
all. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that opens up. That should open up all of the. Oh yeah, they're all open. So there should be a talents one in there. Yep, the bottom one. So these are all the talents in the book. If you're a character creation, you can just drag and drop them.
Nice.
And it shows you all the information that you need. It's just going to populate it in there for you.
Look at that.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
And it's
If you go to
graphics.
you go to the is it combat tab? I think is the next one.
Combat.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is all other stuff. So you have your armor, which is in Conan. Depending on
It
the
looks
piece
like
of armor
a
you.
person.
Well, that's because depending on what you get, gives you armor on that specific body part.
Oh my god,
So,
I love
Does
it.
that
Yeah.
mean that
So if you
can
get a helmet,
target certain
exactly.
body parts of your enemies, or enemies target certain body parts too that look
Yeah.
less
So a
Nice.
helmet
Ooh.
doesn't give you overall armor class. It gives you armor class to your head, to attacks on your head only.
That's
So,
genius. So
yeah.
there's called shots then and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is a way you can do you can roll a d20 and depending on what you roll, it tells you where the shot hit. If you want to call it, you can call it for a higher difficulty. Otherwise, it's a randomized, and you say, okay, I'm going to roll d20. Oh, okay, you got hit in the leg, and you take damage because whatever.
By
I
the
like
way,
that.
I
That's cool.
like how this character sheet, it just like when you went from the main to the combat, it just changed that small section.
I was gonna
You
say
still have all your
these.
main stuff for all the rolls and stuff. It's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all your stats stay for the entire, no matter which page you're on. That I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that
need
is
this in 5th edition.
yeah, that is a key thing that we are trying to do with all of our rule sets for any rule sets that our company designs. This is kind of our main ideas because, like you said, 5e, you're jumping back and forth to make rolls, and like it makes sense to have it all right there, and it's just silly to not. So Steve he's the one that came up with this brilliant design.
Yeah,
And
it's a great idea. There's in 5e, there's an extension that puts all that on the top of your character sheet, but I think it only shows up on the actions tab. It doesn't show up on anywhere else. But it was it's a good the concept of that idea is really great because now you're gonna bounce it back. Whatever. Oh, I'm here. I'm looking at my stuff. I'm looking at my inventory. Make a roll. Okay. I'll make a roll. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to bounce back. It saves time.
Right.
But yeah, so you have your combat, you have your attacks, which is your weapons. So you can if there should be if you go to items on the sidebar. Down. Right. Up.
I'm trying to. Here we go. Right here.
Right there.
Boom.
Yep. You can do a group. You should be able to group it by weapons, or it'll give you the different types of weapons there are. So you just, and again, you click a weapon and then it's drag and droppable, draggable.
Boom.
Yep. And then if you just you double click on the damage, and it'll roll the damage for you, and it tells you how you did. And this Modifius has special damage dice. They call it challenge dice. So a 1 and a 2 counts as a 1 or 2. A 3 and a 4 is a 0, and then a 5 and a 6 counts as 1. But it also has an added effect. So certain weapons, certain things have an effect that can be triggered by rolling a 5 or a 6. and that's what that symbol means. Those are, you just roll 3 effects.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Robin, I probably just hit you so hard that your head fell off. That's probably what happened.
Probably.
I love it. This is so cool.
Yeah. So that's again, that's all put in there, and you have the bonus damage of right above it, which depending on the stats, like I don't remember which one's exactly 100%, but I think it's like your brawn will affect your melee. So if you bring that up to like a 10, your melee goes up.
There we go. So mine went up by 4. Yep.
Yeah. So now if you roll, it's going to add the 4 to the 3, and it's going to roll 7 dice instead of just the 3.
Hello. I clicked it twice because it's so exciting.
That's right. But yeah, and then so ranged is obviously I think that one's agility. I can't remember. And then presence is like spells. Is for spells. I believe that's willpower. But yeah, so that's maybe it's a coordination. I don't know. It's
I'll do them all. I'll do them all. Just do everything.
It's in there somewhere. Unless I did break something, which could have happened.
There, I did them all. Now they all went up. Yeah. So
yeah, it was awareness. Okay. Yeah, and then presence is, I think, willpower, and that's your spell. So depending on what specifically you are rolling, it'll grab those numbers off and it'll add the dice for you, so you don't have to worry about adding extra dice or whatever. It just does it for you.
Nice.
And it bases that off of basically the
you know what I should do here?
first box.
I'm so stupid. Everybody's probably like, what the hell? Let me do this. There we go.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, and that is determined. The bonus damage dice that gets rolled is determined by the type, which the ME means melee, RA is ranged, and PR I think is present. So you can if you click on it, it can scroll through and changes it for you automatically. And so that's what that is based. That's how that works off of that. Sorcery is where you keep your spells. Again, there's the magic, or there's a spells tab on the sidebar, which you can also drag those in.
And now I screwed myself because I don't know these. Oh, here we go.
Too many,
spells, yeah.
Spells. So yeah, those can be dragged in.
A favorite.
Yep.
Form of beast.
Yep.
And so, is that the same thing where you would roll? Here, let me close this. Where you would roll...
Some spells would have a challenge dice. Not all spells do, but if they do, it would have a challenge dice number, and you would just roll, and it should take the presence and do it. I think if you roll it anyways, it should roll with the presence anyways. Oh no, if it had a challenge dice, it should.
Do you know what one would have a challenge dice? Do you know the?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Okay. It doesn't seem there's that many spells. That's the entire list.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Okay. So it's not really a spell.
It's pretty low magic setting, right?
It is. And I know at least in the core there's not a lot. I think there is a couple of there's more as you're getting some of the modules that come out. So as some of the more of the books may or may not come out, I think those would have spells in them, more of them, depending on which one it is.
By the way, there was a question earlier by Jonan asking, is there info on some of the other source books for Conan coming?
We are working on some things. Yes.
Okay. That sounds a lot like we can't talk about it.
So
and then,
cryptic.
Is there a specific build order we have to worry about, like the other rule sets?
In terms of
like
building your character.
Yeah, if you put your race in 5th edition, if you put your race in before your stats, then it adds stuff to the zeros, and it does. There's just a preferred way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think he covered that already, because in the reference manual it tells you step 1 do this, step 2 do this, and just do it that way.
So how 2D20 works is none of the character creation is really automated, only because it's really weird and not weird, but it's very particular. One rule doesn't always affect, you can say this is the rule, but only for these, and if you do this, then it's something different, and if you do this, it might be a third thing. So to make it easier, none of it's automated. So you would just click step 1, follow it along. There's a table that tells you what to do. You roll on the table, add in the numbers. You can do them in any order, but Modifius in the 2D20s, they basically broke it down by steps for you.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
The the hip word for that is that this is a crunchy rule set.
Yes. Yeah,
Very
most
crunchy.
of the 2D20s are,
Mhm.
but they're
But
fun.
that's why like Fantasy Grounds is so good for like what they call crunchy rule sets, because a lot of it is just there for you. You know, like if you were playing this at the table, it'd be a lot of flipping through the book back and forth, you know, stuff like that. And I think Fantasy Grounds is really awesome. It's all
Yeah.
there at your fingertips.
FG is very helpful for anything that has the maths.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
if it's done right.
Exactly.
That's
Well,
right.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I personally would love to automate a lot more of this stuff, but time restraints, deadlines, having other things. It works well. It works great. A lot of people have actually said they like the fact that it's not automated. So we've kind of decided to kind of take a step back and say, okay, well, if people would rather do it this way, it feels more like you're more connected with your character. Great. If people want it more automated, we'll be happy to work on that and put them out. But people seem to like it as it is.
My goal with automation is for you to get some people together, start a campaign, and the DM says, or the game master says, okay, you're entering the area and this is your character and what happens. And then you go, I would like to, and the DM presses a button and then he says, all right, you're all level 20 and you win. And it's over. That's my goal.
That's kind of how
playing.
That's kind of how I played the Red Box when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's spells, and then inventory. Just basically your inventory. If you have allies, they can go in your allies, and if you have a horse, they go in your animals. Those are all under foes, which I guess is a little bit. If the foes on the sidebar, it's a little bit misleading.
Like the NPCs.
Yeah, it's the NPCs, but we call it foes because most of them are the bad guys. But you can drag those into like the allies and the animals, and that way you have those on your character sheet. So if you ever want to roll for them, you have them there, so you can click on them and pull up their character sheets. This is the NPC character sheet. It's not as robust as a PC character sheet because NPCs in Conan are not as robust for their roles.
Basic stuff, you know what happens, and then they hit you or they die, whichever.
Exactly. So it is the same thing, but it's a lot more pared down. A lot of the same automation where we could have put it in. But yeah, so that's when it comes to the NPCs. If you were going to roll off them, you would roll off of the red gem in the corner, as opposed to clicking on the values. But
the red gem in the corner. So
in the very bottom corner, where underneath the chat box.
Oh, here, yeah, okay.
So if you double click on awareness, which is an AWR, or double click any of the attributes, and double click at any of the expertise.
Oops.
Yep. Awareness, and then double click on expertise, and now drag it up. Click and drag into the box. There you go.
Oh.
I succeeded because I am an ape.
You did succeed. It says, I love this.
Now, would any of these monsters or beasts or anything ever have graphics that go with them, or is that not a thing?
Oh yeah, we are looking to get graphics in these as well. Because they wanted to get it out, we just didn't have a chance to get a lot of the graphics to us.
Anybody that gets this in the future, we can rest just like any other rule set with Fantasy Grounds, can look forward to improvements and additions and all that stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it has a token slot there. So on the NPC sheet up where the chat box is, so you could talk as the ape basically in chat. That looks like a token slot right there to the left of that.
Yeah.
So you could probably, at least for now, assign your own tokens.
You could. But yeah, we are definitely going to be we are looking to put out, we're getting a lot of graphics, and we're going to, make them look really nice, and we're going to be putting them out in a future updates.
Cool.
This is so cool.
More questions. Boffrin says, are there any plans for an NPC parser or quick entry method for NPCs?
Is that for like to create an NPC?
Yeah, like I don't know if you're familiar with what used to be called NPC Engineer, now is called Engineer Suite. And it's, yeah, I think that's what he's talking about. Like a way to make a bunch of NPCs fast, rather than just having to make, like if he wants to make a Conan bestiary.
We are thinking there is something we are thinking of putting something out. Yes.
Okay.
It may not be. We're not sure if it's going to be something that. I mean, we're probably going to end up putting out. If we do, we may end up putting out a Fantasy Ground module to adapt to it. But it's also going to be something that you could potentially download as a PDF and export the XML into Fantasy Grounds.
Ooh.
Oh, excellent.
But that's something we're toying with. We don't have anything official. We're not like saying this is we're doing this. We're like, hey, wouldn't it be great to do this? And we kind of have it on the ideas of like, hey, maybe this is something we want to do when we have some time.
Right.
Cool.
But yeah. So
All
yeah,
right.
and then the background is just basic information. Nothing nothing you drag in here would be languages, but and then you just fill in the rest of it. Yep. And then you have your notes tab, which every character sheet needs to have.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Very
Yeah, so
cool.
that's basically the sheet.
So glad I made the screen bigger. Now even I can read it. Well, that's very cool. That's pretty much everything you need to know to be able to play this. Other than getting to know the rules and everything. Anything else in the rule set in particular that we haven't looked at or that you want to showcase or let everybody know about?
I mean, the only thing we haven't really talked about was the momentum and the Doom tokens, which are a feature of the green and the red at the bottom. As a DM, the players generate momentum. DM gets Doom. You can use those to either improve your odds or make things better and or worse for players. If you double click on that, it'll increment it up. The DM can have as many as they want. The player can have up to 6, and it's a pooled for all the players. So yeah, so you just double click through it. It'll just it'll add them on for you, and it tells you that you've added Doom. And then if you drag and drop it into the chat box, it'll tell you spent Doom or momentum or whatever.
Right. Okay.
And
cool.
players don't have access to the Doom; they only have access to the momentum. But yeah, I think that's basically it.
Cool. Yeah, and I do like the Modifius system. MC Deathcore, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream. I do like the Modifius way of the 220s roll low to get a success, and then also the players versus the GM can buffer their stats or buffer each situation. Yep. And does Conan have scenes? Like, do all their games have scenes? Is that a thing that they have a consistency with, or is that just Star Trek?
I don't think it's just Star Trek, but I'm not sure if it's Conan. I think it might be. They might call it something different. I don't remember. I read the core book months ago when it first came on, but I haven't really read it since. So I'm not sure.
So is there like a combat tracker and stuff like that to sort of manage turn order and things like that?
Right now we do have a basic combat tracker. We haven't really done anything to the combat tracker from the core RPG combat tracker yet. We are actually actively working on that, and we are going to be putting out an update to that within the next week or two.
There you go. Yeah, by the way, everybody,
Okay.
This is pretty brand new. I don't
Chat's
remember.
asking for mock combat.
I was going to go ahead and skip that. I was going to pretend I didn't see that. Okay. I don't think that would work out very well in this case, but if for no other reason than I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say.
Pretty new, right? Like, isn't it only a week or two old, maybe?
I think at this point it's about a month. Maybe.
Okay. And Fantasy Grounds is pretty famous for doing that. I'm not saying this in a negative light, but just to let everybody know, they get so many. They're under such pressure to give things to people that when they get to a point where they say, okay, this is maybe not perfect and polished like we would like it, but it is ready to go and can be played, they will then put it out and then tweak it, have the developers add graphics or add, like they still haven't finished the Starship fighter thing for Starfinder, or maybe they have finished it, but it took them a while to do it, but that's a general practice because they don't want to make people. It's the same thing with Unity when they took a poll and they were going to put Unity out, but everybody, like 73% of people said no, put it in beta and don't release it until it's perfect, and so that we don't have to mess with stuff. So they do the best they can with putting this stuff out, but they want to get it into people because people are scratching the inside of their elbows for these rule sets, and especially now since the last couple months everybody's at home with nothing to do. So
yeah. And we made sure it is. I mean, as it stands now, it is 100% playable. It works perfectly. I will say we had some bugs which are going to be fixed Tuesday, but it works. You can play it. It does its thing. Anything we do now is gravy. It's going to make it prettier. It's going to make it easier. It's going to automate it. But we've got it working the way that as a player in a group, you can sit down, you can play this fine and have a great time, and now we want to make it now we want to be like, oh, we can do that now. Those are the things we're looking to add into it.
It's putting trim on the Christmas tree.
Exactly.
Right,
we're frosting the cake.
That's such a good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
My mom used to say that.
It's a mom thing. Well, you're a mom.
It's a mom thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's give this away to somebody. So let me do that.
Ooh, yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah, that's right. That's why everybody gets excited. All right. So we are going to be giving away my copy of Conan.
Not your copy, but
it is my
an extra copy.
No, I bought it. And
I see.
I don't have plans to keep it, so I'm going to give it away. I'm giving away my copy.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally meant to say that. I might buy it
I was
again.
confused.
I might end up buying it again though if somebody says, "Hey, you got to play this with me," and they tie me down and they pour honey on my forehead and let ants lick it and say, "Until you play Conan," and then I go, "Okay,
I'll be buying it."
That was a very descriptive. That was a very descriptive. Yeah.
I cleaned it up. There was going to be other sex things involved, but I decided to leave it out. All right, so I'm lonely.
I'm just going to make Rob play Conan with me.
Yeah.
So you'll be buying it again.
Okay, fine. So people. Thank you, Fury. People are already on this. The word is Conan. Conan. In order to win, you have to type in Conan, as in Conan O'Brien, not Conan, as in Conan the Barbarian. So that's how you win. Is you type it in CONAN.
And then after you enter, make sure you get your phone out and text your mom Happy Mother's Day, in case anybody's forgotten.
Oh, shit.
It's 9:30. It's 9:30 for me on the East Coast. If you haven't done it by now, you're a terrible child.
Right.
Right.
I would say, in fact, if you haven't done it by now, don't call attention to it. Just let it go. Yeah. Because she's already pissed off at you. Yeah.
That's worse. Just do a simple text, maybe a little gift says Happy Mother's Day with some flowers or something.
Yeah, a little heart emoji. Won't kill ya.
Clancy typed in exclamation O'Brien. Yes.
So while this is going on, I did want to say, so like I said, we're out working on Star Trek, and I am super excited for that one.
Me too.
Yeah, I played. So here's what happened to me. First of all, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I played Star Trek, and I actually own all of the PDFs. Like Modifius had a big sale on Drive-Thru RPG. I bought everything, like $200, whatever. It went crazy. Yep. And then, but I'm such a 5e guy, and I can't. And I'm so learning averse. I'm such an old man that I can't be learning new things, right? Even though I taught myself 5e in the last 5 years. But I am kind of excited about Star Trek. I might add that to my thing, and then I might start doing it on my channel. And because Star Trek, and I've always been disappointed. Like when I played with Steve Albany, like 4 or 5 years ago, we played Star Trek, but it wasn't the Modifius system, because that's only been around for like 3 years or 2 years.
Right, it was the fast side, I think.
Yeah, there was a lot of, when I played with Steve, it wasn't that much fun for me because there wasn't like a way to do it with rules, and it was more just, hey, let's tell a Star Trek story, which is fine for most people. But everybody knows about me that I'm not a role player. I'm totally a crunch man. I'm totally a murder hobo. And Modifius allows you to, like, okay, here's the thing, and this is what you roll, and this is how you win. And so all right,
it's great. But so
go ahead.
You've played on my rule set, the one that I made. The one that we're putting out is as of now, we're still not even done with it. I think is at least 3, 4, 5 times better.
Nice. Okay.
Yay!
Because I actually did like the more core overlay that you made. I did like that.
Yeah.
But I can see now by looking at this rule set how much you could have done with that, and yeah, so I'll be your first purchase when that comes out. That'll be great. Keyword raffle is closing. Tom Knapp wants to know, is there an FFG Star Wars rule set? I don't think so. There is
Not official.
community made, yeah, but not an official one.
No.
Rob Tui, you really need to do it.
Are there any FFG
No,
official?
I don't think
Because
so.
they're pretty like hard to. What's the word I'm looking for here?
They're assholes
Partner with.
Yeah,
Disney?
they're super huge.
Fantasy
FFG
flight
is
game.
super huge. Like intellectual property Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I didn't know if they had, because I mean I've heard stories, so I won't go into it. But
I've heard the same stories. Maybe. All right, I'm gonna draw a winner, everybody. Here it is. The person getting my personal Ratui rule set that I bought earlier is
Used copy.
It's a used copy. Yeah, you're gonna be getting a used copy.
Slightly stained.
In like new condition.
It's in like new condition. There's a couple pages that stick together. Don't worry about it. All right. Here it is. It's Boffrin.
Of course it is.
Boffrin. Of course it is. Congrats, Boffrin. You know what to do.
Congrats, Boffrin.
Oh, you know what, Boffrin? That is your Fantasy Grounds name, is it not? Isn't it Boffrin? So then if it is, I'll just go give it to you right now live, and everyone will see it. All right, this is gonna be great. Watch this. I'm gonna go like that. I'm gonna Fantasy Grounds like this. Fantasy Grounds.
All right, so Boffrin, you'll be GMing Conan for us, right?
Order history like that. I'm gonna go right here and see. I'm gonna go down here to where is it?
Just get off your product keys. Way to go, Rob.
No, I don't show that. What do I do? Is it the date? There it is. Robert E. Howard's Conan O'Brien role-playing game. Excellent. Gift order. And then I click that, and then I go up here like this, and I say Boffrin. I like that. And I confirm gift. And then now he's got it. Now here's the beautiful part. If I just leave Fantasy Grounds open forever, I still have it too. But as soon as I close it, it's going away. Or not as soon as I close it, as soon as I update. I think
so. Never update and hope for no power outages.
That's right, and then it won't take it away from me. But there you go. Congrats, Boffrin. Nice job. Well done by typing one word into the chat and getting a $50 prize. That's what we do here on the Sunday show. We give away stuff.
But he typed it correct, and I've seen enough of these giveaways to know that alone is a challenge.
Yeah, and I've seen people type it 2 or 3 times because you can't enter more than once.
Right.
But I've seen people do it. That's kind of why I show the thing on the screen too. I try to show this so people can see their names.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get too many, if it scrolls off or if it goes down below this, you can't see. But yeah, I've had people type it a couple times just to make sure they did it right or whatever and want to be entered. But we've never really had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, good. So Wes, thank you so much for doing that for us and showing us that. I'm pretty excited about your future projects and the whole 2D20 Modifius stuff. And Robin's gonna make me play Conan. And
it's for me, it's really cool knowing that, like, if I heard you correctly, you were self-taught, like with all the Lua and stuff, which is something I'm trying to do. I'm better with XML than I am with Lua, but I'm learning.
That's funny.
And Diablo Bob is helping me, and so it's really cool seeing somebody be so like self-made. You're not. I don't know your whole story, but like my husband, he's been coding for like 10 years, so he's just really good at everything, and I'm not like that, like at all.
I mean, I can tell you, I taught myself Python, and I did that. I self-taught that online 2-3 years ago, maybe. And that was all the coding experience I had before I taught myself Lua. So I mean,
that's awesome.
It's I'm not gonna say it's easy. It is very difficult. But it's a challenge, but it's fun. If you enjoy that sort of thing, it's fun, and I highly recommend anybody that wants to do it, just do it, get into it. I can give you some great suggestions on where to go to learn stuff like that. there's a lot of resources out there online for free nowadays. You can learn anything, and I would highly suggest that you never know what could happen. And believe me, when I started learning Python, I had no intention of this ever becoming like a career thing.
Right. Ooh, so I'm sure Rob is going to ask you, but are you on like social medias or anything like that so that I can stay in touch with you somehow?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook. I think it's West Toma, or maybe it's West Toma Lee. I think they don't do the dash because the dashes are evil to a lot of companies for some reason. But if you look up West Toma,
I didn't know that dashes are evil. Holy shit! All right.
Well, if you have a hyphenated name, I'd say about 6 out of 10 times when you go to type in your last name, it says, "Oh no, only characters, only letters." So they won't let you do it. I have a Twitch stream, Static367. I do have a Twitter, which I believe is also Static367, but I never use it because I'm a little bit.
Oh, so here's what you want, everybody, is you want Static367.
Yeah,
I don't know
Static
why
with
I'm
a K.
typing it here. It should be here in the Twitch chat. Duh. So Static with a K, 367. That's so funny, with a K. I used to have a joke in my acronyms, and my girlfriend is, I'm having intimate relations with my girlfriend, and she thinks I'm cheating. I'm not cheating, and I said, but I'm so stupid because when I yelled out her name, I yelled out Christy with a K, and she spoke with a C.
Oh my god!
It was better when I did it on stage, guys. Especially
I'm
with
sure.
2 drink minimum. Tip your waitstaff. Okay.
Do you
what
stream kind of frequently?
I
know I'm just so full of questions.
No, right now I stream. I haven't been as regular as I want to be, but I stream every Saturday morning. It's 8 a.m. Eastern, so it's probably early for you guys. But I do a coding stream for Fantasy Grounds College, where right now I am coding the Princess Bride rules RPG. And
yay!
Okay, so
something I'll never buy.
here's why I'm laughing is that every human being you've ever met loves that movie except Robin Nix.
I hate that movie.
It's one of my favorites. But yeah, so I basically do the stream as a learning. So people who want to learn to code and want to ask questions, they can come on. They can ask me questions. With whatever little knowledge I have, I try to answer them. If people come on with issues with something that they've done, I'm more than happy to look at their code and try to work through it with them. But yeah, I try to do it basically as a teaching stream. I am looking to do more like gaming, but right now every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, I try to stream.
Wow, so I gotta get up at 5 o'clock if I want to see that. God damn it.
I mean, I'm only an hour behind you, so
yeah.
Oh, it's all about you.
I am so here for that. I will totally check out your stream.
Yeah, I had to do that. I had to do it that early because it ends at noon my time, and it's like I don't want to kill my entire Saturday streaming if I started later.
So, Wes, do you upload those to YouTube after the fact?
I haven't. They are on Twitch. I've toyed with the idea, but again, finding the time to edit and put them up on YouTube.
Oh, edit? What are you talking about? I don't fucking edit shit. I've got 1,000 videos. None of them are edited. None of them. Just slap that shit up there.
I have considered. I just haven't had a chance to do it. I do want to in the future. I do want to, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. And you do all this for free. You give out this free information, free teaching.
Love it.
Yeah, totally.
Keep doing that.
By the way, I will say this about editing videos. I don't edit any of my stuff, which is why a lot of people say to me, "You're on YouTube?" Because I don't care about it. So it just but yeah, that is awesome. And kudos to you, sir, for making a 4-hour stream every Saturday and letting people ask questions and learning. I didn't know that. I'm hoping. Yeah, thanks, Robin. That's the Twitch site. I'm hoping
it's because I had it open to go follow. So
okay. So yeah, everybody follow that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do that right now if I haven't.
How many subscribers does he have? We'll get him over 100.
I don't have any subscribers. I can't get subscribers yet. I've not been.
He's got 20 followers. Let's double that, everybody. Just go follow the site. Just do it. Just fucking do it. I'm telling you to do it. Wait, that might be bad. Me telling people to do it might get you. Oh, it's down to 18. It's at 18. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah,
that's right. You don't have a YouTube yet.
I didn't know that. What happened? It did. It dropped. What the
Wow.
fuck? That's not even funny.
Aw.
But I wasn't trying to. Oh my god.
That's all right.
I
It's all
triggered
right. It's fine.
Is that
Somebody
even
was trolling. It's 24 now.
26? There we go. Okay. Hold on, God.
26.
I was gonna maybe quit the business right just then.
Why like hosting Rob right now? Why do I see this?
Who's hosting me? What happened?
Oh no, I said Stag should have been hosting you
Oh.
since he's on tonight.
So
I'm
I
just
could-
kidding.
It's
I'm
fine.
so kidding. But I love that the thing says Coding Princess Bride RPG. So
Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, the coding part, not the.
It
There
is
you go.
it is probably my favorite movie. I know you obviously you hate it, but it is my favorite
It's
movie.
okay. I don't like hate somebody just because they like something I don't like. I think it's really
So-
cool that you stream and code and are helpful because
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love that. And for, like I said, somebody like me, stuff like that is useful and not that common either.
Mhm.
So it's nice to find more.
Well,
of it.
that's the
is-
thing that
Yeah.
that's the thing I found out because, like, I mean, when I started, there is the Fantasy Grounds forums, there is the Fantasy Grounds in the Fantasy Grounds College Discords, and of course there's the Fantasy Grounds website. But coming into it from someone as never having coded Lua, it was all very confusing for me. Like
Yes.
I have coding experience, and once you know how to code, you kind of know how to code. You just got to learn the syntax for the specific language you're doing.
Mhm.
But I personally found that when I would ask a question, a lot of times I would get a response saying, "You can't do that," and then I would just keep trying and I would do it. And
Oh
the
yeah.
an-
I've
the-
seen that.
yeah, James.
I've not only seen that, I've seen Fantasy Grounds forum posts. You can't do that, and then a month later, the next post. Here's how I did it.
Yeah, I
It's
did.
funny.
That happened to me at least 3 times on Conan. I asked a question and they said, "Oh no, that's hard coded in," and I found a way not to do it. To do it the way I wanted to. And like, but there are some people out there, like I know Damien has some great starter videos on YouTube that you can watch. Zacchaeus has some great videos on YouTube to watch. But they're not very, and again, it's YouTube, so they're not very detailed,
Right.
Mhm.
Which is
And
why
the
I want to do it.
documentation for Fantasy Grounds, the coding part of Fantasy Grounds,
It's
because I found the
not great.
documentation. It's
not great.
very lackluster,
It's
to
not-
be
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that because they are accepting of people. Obviously, they pay people to do rule sets and let them put them up, and you guys probably all got paid and whatever. That's fine, but I don't think they want people going. They don't want people that are amateurs, I guess is the right way to put it, monkeying around with code that goes into either core RPG or established rule sets, right? They want you to kind of know what you're doing. So they figure, I mean, this is not, again, I should say the disclaimer again. This is not what Fantasy Grounds says. This is what I say. I think they like to sort of make it difficult for you to learn how to do that so that you make a serious effort and it's not just, people monkeying around with stuff they don't know about, because then that just causes problems, and then all of a sudden something comes up and it's just a error fest and people are angry and mad because stuff doesn't work. So they kind of like people to, someone like Wes who knows programming and taught himself Lua, and they don't just want a guy like me who, here's what I'll do. I'll make a rule set for my RPG that I made that I just learned about today, and I'll have it done by Wednesday. That's kind of, I'm stumbling through my explanation of, I'm very bad at articulating what my idea is here, but I think people get what I'm trying to say, which is they really want people who know what they're doing to do stuff rather than just anybody do it, right?
But as personally, as someone who wants to see more people coding and wants to see the community to be way more open, I tend to give the same advice I gave to my father when we got our first computer, and that advice is just click around. If you break it, it's always fixable.
Yeah, that is
Undo.
true.
Control Z.
and-
Control
Yeah,
Z.
just
Which would
if you
which would
if
be
you
awesome
change
in Fantasy Grounds.
if you change some code and you get an error, put it back. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But it's the only way to learn is to play. The only way to learn it is to play it.
That is good advice.
Yeah.
And I got super lucky
Love it.
personally because when I made the 5th edition codes that I'm known for, that didn't take too much specialized knowledge. All it took was tenacity and willpower. And I've long since forgotten how to do all that shit anyway. And so I'm an example of a guy who doesn't really know what he's doing and pulled it off. But I just got super lucky and my timing was there. So
and there is something to be said about beating code into submission as well.
That's true.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, cool.
This is
If there's
awesome.
any final questions, we'll try. I've been trying to keep up with questions. And guys, if you typed a question in chat and I didn't say it, I totally apologize. Type it again now. We'll try to get to it. But I've been trying to keep up.
How long have you been
when
working on the Princess Bride coding?
she beat me to it.
I started the stream. I think I started the stream like 2 months ago. The first couple, my initial intent was to kind of take the literature that Fantasy Grounds has on their site and break it down. So like if you look at their reference doc, it tells you like window class and it gives you basics of how like a window class works, but it doesn't really detail it. I was going to take one of those and every stream kind of break it down. But then so I actually Buffer and was like, well, why don't you make a rule set? And that way you can show by doing, and when you get to those, like a window class, you can then explain it as you do it to show people examples. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense. So I think
that's awesome.
After one or two streams of that, I said, well, I need to code something. What can I code? And I had recently, not too long, got the Kickstarter for Princess Bride, and I've been talking about wanting to play it. So I'm like, screw it, I'll just do that.
Nice. Yeah, so it looks like there's 100 hours of videos I need to go watch that you've already.
Good luck.
Someone wanted to know: is there a good Lua editor that you would recommend?
It depends on what you're doing. My tried and true fail, my favorite has always been from day one Notepad++.
Yeah, I use Notepad++, not for Lua, but I love that program, and it actually does. I'm amazed at some of the shit that it'll scrub your hard drive and replace a word and everything else that you. Oh God, I've used the shit out of that. Yeah.
Yeah, their search function is probably one of the best search functions I've ever found. However, I personally, because I'm now doing this professionally, and we do a lot of stuff using a repository, and we do versioning. I now use Visual Studio Code because it links. We have our DevOps in the background, which it links automatically to DevOps, and I can code in that and upload it. But I actually still keep Notepad++ open. So if I'm looking at something, I say, how do I do that? I don't remember how to do this. I open Notepad++, and then I have all the base.xmls open, and I click on the right one. I do a search in files for, like, say, Core RPG, and I look for that, and then I can search all the Core RPG, which is something I can't do in Visual Studio Code. Yeah. So I would say if you don't need to use anything else, use Notepad++. You'll never fail.
Yeah. Right, and it's free.
It is free. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Notepad++.
My husband uses VS Code because that's what his work uses. I don't know if that one costs money though.
Well, you can get the developer version. Oh no, the community version is free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they are.
I know
Notepad++ is always updated.
Really good.
Yeah, and they're constantly updating it.
Yeah, it gets updated all the time. 7.8.6 Notepad++.
Yeah.
Bam.
All right, very good. Before we let the show end, anything else we missed, Wes? Did we miss anything? Anything else you'd like to say just generally? Would you like to give your political opinions for the November I'm just kidding.
Absolutely not. Not even
Don't do it. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
No.
Anything else though? Did we miss anything or need to say anything about anything?
Keep an eye on the forums. If you want to learn about the rule sets we're working on, nerdiindustries.com will have all that information. We also have forums on there if you want to talk to us. But I'm on the Fantasy Grounds forums. I'm on the Discord. I try to keep up. And anything, if you play the game and you find anything wrong with it, please put it in the forums. We do read it, and we do take it to consideration, everything that we see.
Cool. That's good.
awesome.
That's good. Community feedback is super important, so it's great that you guys pay attention
Yeah.
to that. Anything else from either of the co-hosts that we missed or that you have an itching to
I
say?
think I got all my questions. So, Fury, it's all you.
No, no questions.
right.
Although I am kind of curious as to when we might, have a small one shot of this.
That's right.
That
Ask
can be
Boffrin.
that can be talked about. Boffrin's talking about right now. He's already
Boffrin.
typing us. He's already emailing each of us individually. So guys, coming up on the show in the next couple weeks. Next week will be the Kent McCullough extensions. That show will air on YouTube next week, not on Twitch, and it will not be live. As a matter of fact, we're recording the show tomorrow, but it'll air next week on YouTube. So next week, don't come to Twitch, come to YouTube. I will be in the chat on YouTube, so if you guys have questions, I'll be there. And then Kelsey Dion will be the week after that, and the week after that, we're going to talk with Celestian and Stefan about the 2nd edition rule set. So be back, everybody. There's prizes always. I will figure out something to do during the YouTube video next week too. I'll give a prize away live on that. So whatever happens. All right. Well, thanks. Thanks to my lovely co-hosts and thanks to Wes for joining us, everybody. And we will be back. We're going to end the stream and we'll be back in 5 or 10 minutes or so to play Jackbox games. So be sure and stick around. And until then, good gaming, everyone.